Welcome back to part 3 of our interview with Hugh Middleton and Henry Jones, where they tell us the importance of keeping your foot on the gas pedal, in addition to how they maintain a successful partnership. Keep it right here. Part 3 is up next.
Welcome to this edition of Peak Performance Podcast with your host, Thor Conklin. Thor will be sharing the necessary tools, strategies, and psychology you'll need to become a peak performer in any area of your life or business.
Thor Conklin here. We give you the tricks, the tips, the tools, the strategy, the technology, and the psychology peak performers use in order to get more done and execute at the highest level. If you know what to do but struggle with getting it all done, or simply want to raise your game to the next level, this podcast is for you. Sit back and enjoy. So, hearing what's working and what's worked in the past and the leadership style that you guys have, somewhere along the line, you guys tried something and you're like, this is a good idea, tried it, and it was like, oh, that was not a good idea. What are some of the mess-ups?
I think one of our bigger mess-ups was that we tried to use some sales and marketing techniques that are made for the consumer market, thinking that just with a few tweaks, they might work in our market. And that was a complete 0% success.
Hugh, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, we, especially with, some of the folks that I used to work with, that is about the toughest crowd you can get in front of. And Henry's right. We tried to put a square peg in a round hole with some of our marketing and business development ideas, and it just did not work out so well. And we're still learning. And I mean, that's another thing for the folks that are listening to this. If you're not learning something every day, then there's something wrong with you. I mean, literally, I learn something new every day within whether it's the business or sales and marketing or business development or dealing with a customer or whatever it is. You've got to have an open mind and learn something and learn from your mistakes, drive on, move forward, and just try not to let them happen again. But don't be afraid of making them.
Yeah, it's one common theme I see so often with young entrepreneurs is young and in business for a short period of time is, when do I get past the stage where I've got problems? It's like, isn't that just like a phase? I think it's like, okay, I'm going to get past this and then everything's going to be just wonderful. It doesn't happen. Problems. I always say the only people that don't have problems are those that are in graves. It's as long as you're alive, you're going to have problems. Every day I pray for just bigger problems and not the same problems I had yesterday. I'm hoping I'm growing through the process. Tell me what's next for the company. What are you guys excited about?
In general, the things that we're looking forward to is obviously continuing to grow the company and grow our customer base, especially into the law enforcement and first responder realm. And in that regard, we're developing some new training. We have a product that fits into the training world in order to be able to watch an event happen in real time from multiple angles, and then to be able to immediately do an after-action review or a debrief, as we mentioned earlier, in a whole lot less time than it takes now. And there's training venues around this country and all over the place that we think that this is going to be able to fit into and to make people a lot more efficient and take a lot less of their time, so they're spending more time actually doing training than editing video or waiting to see something that they did today next week. Because coming from my background, your training curve drops off pretty quickly. So if you're able to see something that you just did almost immediately, you get it in your head and you go right back in there, you correct the mistake, and you get better, and your skill level increases at a far faster rate than it would without having that sort of visual training tool. So that's one of our big things that we're super excited about, that we're really going to get into in 2018 and push into all kinds of different venues, whether it is a civilian commercial firearms range that has law enforcement and military that they use, and that happens around the country, or military and law enforcement type ranges and shoot houses and all kinds of different facilities where people are conducting training every single day. So we think we're going to be able to help them become a lot more efficient and to increase their skill set exponentially.
Fascinating. It must be really fun. It's almost like going to work every day, and it's like, okay, what problem are we going to solve today? What cool shit can we create?
Yeah,
I say that all the time.
yeah. I think I have. This is the coolest job that I've ever heard of, and it's my job. So I am so thankful for that.
That is really, really interesting. And I gotta give the audience kind of a behind the scenes look, because part of this is going to get edited out. But when I first asked this question, they were going back and forth, and it was like, well, I think we could talk about, no, we can't talk about that. It was like, I know they've got some really cool shit that they just can't even talk about yet. So that was really interesting to kind of hear that. And so there, you guys got some cool stuff going on. Help me with this. I want to transition to the partnership that you guys have. You know, I've been in partnerships in the past. I don't know if I'll ever have a business partner again. Sometimes it can almost be like a marriage. What's the secret? Why do you guys get along so well? When I reached out originally to Henry's like, yeah, I'd love to do it, but I've got to have my partner there. I got to have Hugh on as well. You guys seem like you have a really good synergy and really good fit. I'm sure you guys argue sometimes with each other. What's the secret to your success as a partnership?
I think the number one reason that we are successful is we have enormous respect for one another, and we both have done elite stuff, but from completely different backgrounds. And I have complete trust in Hugh that anything he says about stuff in his world, I can take as gospel, and I think he feels the same way about me. And then we just seem to have a natural. We have some pretty dissimilar parts of our personalities, but the parts that are similar really click, and I have a great time just being around him, work or not work.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it's important not only to be, in business together, but to also be friends. I mean, Henry and I didn't really know each other that well before we even started the company, but we've had some very similar personal issues that we've kind of helped each other work through and continue to do that. So I think it's just not the business stuff. And we get together, whether I'm in Mississippi or he's up in Virginia Beach or what have you, and we just talk about like life and regular things, and help each other out if we've got a problem or what have you. And it's kind of like that with the rest of the folks within the ownership of the company. And I think that's what helps make us who we are, and the fact that I said it earlier, I can't do what these guys can do, and they can't do what I can do. So we rely on each other. It's just not one person does it all. So I think the fact that we have to be able to do that, we have to be able to work with each other, we have to be able to be friends, all for the success of the company.
I've never done this before in an interview, but I'm the guy that I do this all the time in a casual setting. We'll go out for dinner with a couple or something. I'll sit there. I say, what do you love and respect and admire about your partner? So I'll do that at dinner over cocktails or something. I'm actually going to do that today. Hugh, what do you love, respect, and admire about Henry?
I'm not sure I love anything about him.
All right, we'll take the love piece out. What do you respect and admire about him?
Just his whole career path. I mean, somebody that comes from such a small town in rural Mississippi that he comes from, and his whole family's brilliant. To go from that to a Stanford PhD to multiple sort of a serial entrepreneur and different businesses and nonprofits, and it's just, and he's younger than I am. So to be able to do this at such a fairly young age, and then to do what he does with the company, he wears multiple hats within the company. I just respect that. I'm not that smart. I'm not that intelligent of a person. I am in certain ways, but not in that sort of realm. So I think it's I admire the way he's able to juggle all the different hats that he wears. It's personal life and business wise and different things going on. It's a pretty tall task.
Wow. Henry, what about you?
Thor, there are so many times when I'm at an event and there are some of the guys that Hugh used to work with, and Hugh's off talking to somebody else, and they get me over to the side and they say, do you have any idea what sort of guy you're working with? Do you know what kind of character and integrity he's made of? And I see it every day, and it's clear that's just a part of who he is. And to engender the levels of respect that he has in his community, and then to take a completely different environment like our technology company and have the same kind of respect. He is a natural leader, and I learn something every time that I'm interacting with him about leadership, about being a good person, being a good man, being a good dad. And the opportunity to work with Hugh makes it just any of the negatives, which there aren't many, but just the opportunity to work with Hugh would squelch out any possible negatives of the company, because it's just been fantastic to be around him.
My work is done here. We're having a love fest between the partners here.
I almost started crying.
Well,
almost.
You know what's interesting, and I'll point this out, and I point this out when I do this with couples or just friends, so often we spend hours and hours with someone, whether it's a wife or husband or business partner or just somebody that we work with, and we think all these great things about them, but we very often don't tell them. We don't verbalize it. And, we think it, and it's like, oh, they understand. But, when you do this, and if you do this with your customers and you do this with your employees, I'm telling you, you end up with raving fans. They will never go anywhere.
Well, it's kind of funny you bring that up, Thor, because the leadership of the company has recently gone through a course that helps us do that, helps us develop those skills of, talking to the people that you work with or the people that work for you to find out, hey, this isn't all about me. What are your problems, and how can we resolve them, and just go back and forth and talk instead of getting into a giant pissing contest and then nothing gets done. So it's just a coincidence you've brought this up, because we've recently kind of installed it into the company, that sort of mentality.
Yeah, and another thing that's related to that is we work in a very masculine world. Our customers, our company, it's just the nature of the business. And unfortunately, our culture sort of gives the impression that you have to have a mask on to show that you're tough. But when you show some vulnerability, so this is what's really going on, really try to find out more about somebody else, you see that what's really courageous is taking that mask off and being real. And when you do that with other people who are like that, and a lot of Hugh's teammates have that level of self-confidence that they don't need to wear some other mask. They, you can really connect with people and build great relationships.
Henry, what's some of the best advice you've received in business?
Some of the best advice that I've received in business is that when you develop and you're going to launch a new product, one way or the other, you're going to have 3 initial customers. And it is a lot better to know who those customers are before you start building a new product than after you've built a new product, because you can certainly find out that product doesn't have 3 customers after all. So the smartest thing you can do when you're going to do something new is, before you spend any money on anything, already know the names, email addresses, phone numbers, and the way they're going to spend their money to buy your product of 3 people before you ever do anything else.
I love it. Hugh, what about you? Best advice you received in business?
Mine's a bit more simple, and Henry's absolutely right. I mean, that's the thing that we talk about all the time, but is never taking your foot off the gas pedal.
Oh, yeah.
Never slowing down, never resting, because you've always got to get a new customer, a new product, a new whatever, if you want your company to continue to grow to the point of whether you sell it or sell off product lines or what have you. There's just never any rest, unless, I guess you get to the point where you're some gigantic CEO, and maybe they don't even do that. And I know one of my really good friends is kind of one of our mentors and advisors, and he's been doing his own business for over 30 years, and that guy still works just as hard today as he did 30 years ago.
Yeah, it almost goes in ebbs and flows, right? And I always tell my clients, if you just closed a big deal, do not leave the office. Do not celebrate. I mean, the tide is starting to shift. This is the time where you double down and you put on more gas. And once you're done, do that for a few days, and if nothing else kind of develops, great. All right, go back to your normal pace. But it's the time when things are going well or going great. You want to push down, double down. Cards, right? If you're playing cards, blackjack, when you start to hit a run of 21, that's the time to keep betting bigger, not smaller. Business runs. It has an energy to it. So I really, really like that. And Hugh, I got to ask you another question because I'm a big fan of the SEALs and the lessons that you guys learn. Tell us some life lessons. Tell us some business lessons that you learned by being a Navy SEAL.
Well, I've only been in the business world really for the last 4.5 years, and that's doing this. I mean, I've worked for other people, but I would say, just as we talked about earlier, calling things as they are when they happen, never letting up, always putting out, because you always, especially being in the SEAL teams, you never, ever, ever did anything by yourself. You always had a swim buddy, or you never went into a building by yourself, or that kind of thing. You have a responsibility to the person next to you, and that could be one person, it could be 14. So do the right thing. Try to help everybody as much as you can. Build the business as best you can. You're going to make mistakes, but have everybody that's around you learn from those mistakes so that they don't make them. And life ain't easy. So there's no sense sitting around and complaining and bullshitting about it. Just put your head down, gut through it, and come out the other side. I think that's one of probably the biggest lessons of being a team guy is it's a job that generally sucks, but you got to do it. You got to get through it, and your buddy next to you is going to help you do that.
Yeah, I remember them saying, don't try to do anything else. It sucks. Just face facts. It's going to suck. You're not going to, I remember laying in the Pacific Ocean, locked arms, doing a backwards handspring or something as the waves are washing up our nostrils, choking, choking. I'm like, this sucks. They're like, yeah, I know it sucks. Just embrace the suck. Embrace the suck. This too will pass. And then you're going to be running up and down the beach, and you're going to hope that you're back in the surf because your legs are about ready to drop off. Just embrace it. So great way to end this. Thanks, guys, for being on today. You guys have an amazing company. Thanks for what you do for our troops and our first responders. And love to have you back on when you guys kick some ass and I guess do it again. Is that the plan next year? You're going to do the Inc. 5000 again?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think we're in good shape.
I love it. Please let the audience know how they can get in touch with you.
So to get in touch with Hugh and Henry at Copus Mobile, you can just go with sales@copusmobile.com. That's KOPISMOBILE.com. That's also the website address for us, and we are on Facebook and LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram. And we'd love to get in touch with anyone who'd like to give our products a test drive and give us feedback about how we can make it better for you.
Again, everything that we make comes from talking to folks that have problems. So we want to hear all about those and hopefully can develop something that will make your life a bit easier.
Guys, thank you very much. This has been a lot of fun, and I look forward to having you back on the show.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Thor. It's been great.
You've been great.
Thank you so much for listening today. I really do appreciate your time, and I hope you found today's show valuable. If you would like to receive these shows automatically to your phone or to your computer, simply go to iTunes and subscribe. After listening to several of the shows, if you're so inclined, please leave us a 5-star rating, as this helps us reach additional people and spread the message. If you're truly committed to taking your life to the next level and doing whatever it takes to become a peak performer, but something's holding you back, something is blocking your way, and you just can't seem to figure out what it is, send me an email to info@thorconklin.com, and I'd be more than happy to get on the phone with you. We'll schedule a 15-minute discovery call No obligation, no cost. I absolutely love to hear from the listeners, and if there's something I can do to help, I'd be more than happy to do that. Also, if you found something of great interest in today's show and you want to share that with your friends and family, simply go to my Facebook page, Thor Conklin, click on the episode, hit the share button, and share it on your page. You can follow me at Twitter at Thor Conklin. The website is thorconklin.com. We're constantly adding new free resources, discussing additional tricks, tips, tools, and strategies on how to be a peak performer. Remember, I try to keep these episodes short so you can listen to them during dot time, doing other things, commuting, driving, walking, working out. Decide to be a peak performer in all that you do. And until tomorrow, have an absolutely amazing day.